Saturday, 10:41. A ceiling-mounted fisheye camera in the service corridor of the Azure Crescent Resort, Palm Jumeirah, Dubai, captured an ordinary sequence that would later anchor a case file. In the frame, a housekeeper's linen cart rolling past a gray fire door, a guest in a beige sundress pausing to let the cart pass, a staff badge flashing green on a reader. The timestamp and camera ID, SCL2 East 004, were stamped over the lower edge. No one paused the feed that day. The resort system overwrote footage on a 14-day cycle unless a formal request locked it. The guest was Lena Korol, age 24, a Ukrainian national who had arrived the previous Sunday on a 90-day tourist entry. Passport ER 956321, Emirates entry stamp at DXB Terminal 3 E-Gate, time 1309. A budget airline receipt showed a one-way from Warsaw bought May 5th. Total sure €429. Payment by a prepaid debit card funded via a kiosk in Krakow. On her phone, a job offer saved as a PDF asserted a wellness host resmab role at Azure Crescent with shared housing, na stipendrat, and my start date, May 15th. The PDF metadata listed its author as A. Darzi, People Operations. The resort later disclaimed the document. Her competence was visible in the things she organized cleanly: a packing spreadsheet in her Notes app, reminders for visa days, copies of documents uploaded to a cloud drive. She managed budgets and schedules with discipline. Her vulnerability was just as visible: a thin savings balance, a string of job trials that fell apart, and a habit of trusting official-looking email addresses with logos and footers. The Wellness Host PDF had the resort logo copied from their site and a signature block with a phone number linked to a prepaid due. Sim bought $9 at a mall kiosk with a passport scan that never matched the user. On Monday, May 15th, she checked into the Azure Crescent as a guest for 7 nights. Confirmation ACR-QF-22314, Standard King with Marina View. A temporary plan, per her notes, until staff housing opened. Her phone joined the resort network. SID, Azure guest. With device, iPhone X-Ray OS, Mac, F2:9, A:77:1, C:45:09. The Radius authentication logs showed stable connections in the evenings and across the lobby bar during midday, where she sent messages that left metadata even when the content later vanished. Her smartwatch synced heart rate data every hour to the same network. Public spaces layered safety over risk. The Palms promenades were bright even after midnight. Mall halls trusted crowds more than locks. Lena's week filled with ordinary points. May 16. She registered at Dubai Health Authority, its portal for an HAR occupational health card, uploaded a passport photo taken in the resort bathroom, and set a medical screening appointment for May 19th at Jumeirah Creek Clinic. May 17. She rode a Puti Kareem e-scooter from the resort to Burtt Nakheel Mall. GPS track saved at 5 meters Maidureto. Resolution: renting a white blouse for interviews at a shop called Blanc. Receipt BMNKM4110. Behind the same ordinariness, someone else's schedule moved. The person behind, A. Darzi, messaged her from shawwellness.hr at azurecrescent-uae.com, mailed to wellness.hr at azurecrescent-uae.com. A domain registered April 28th. Through a privacy shield that masked ownership, the email headers pointed to an IP used by a logistics firm in Al-Quaz that dispatches vans to resorts daily. The cover story threaded into real currents: onboarding at a resort, rides down service corridors, medical screenings that drew blood and signed forms. On Friday, May 19th, the morning began with a new routine. At Bokidru 10:05, Lena left the resort in a rideshare called to use Service Gate 2, not the main porte cochere. The driver's telematics, later subpoenaed, recorded a 21-minute for transit to Pidu. Jumeirah Creek Clinic. She checked in at 10:31, printed ticket JCC-Q-A-114, and completed the occupational health exam by bird 11:22. The clinic's lab sheet Lab Hep 19733 recorded blood drawn, serology panels ordered, and a signature for consent. At 11:28, her phone pinged a message from Dar al-Darzi, changing the afternoon schedule to a EDI uniform fitting, off-site with a location pinned Warehouse 12, Al-Quaz Industrial 3. The rideshare to Al-Quaz left at 12:15. The driver dropped her at a gate with a keypad. A warehouse camera pointed inward captured a white panel van with a familiar resort logo drawn in vinyl. The van's plates were later traced to a subcontractor, Desert Marina Services, vendor ID on file with Azure Crescent for linen disposal and Yirat Kadino, kitchen grease collection. Her phone connected to a private Wi-Fi network named DMS Staff for 8 minutes at -79 decibels, a faint handshake recorded by a nearby router whose logs retained 7 days. That Friday was the last time friends saw activity they recognized. Her smartwatch stopped syncing at 14:52, heart rate sensor last recorded 77. At 15:16, her room key card RFID 48G119 opened potent. Room 1219, a single-person entry. The Resort Concierge app showed a request for extra towels at 15:29. At 16:25, a service elevator control logged floor 12 to loading dock with a priority override, code FP03, a concierge-level function not available to housekeeping. At 16:32, camera LD West 002 captured the same linen cart from SCL 2 East 004 exiting onto the dock. The carton on its lower shelf bore an air waybill label with destination Sharjah and shipper Desert Marina Services. On Haido Sunday, May 21, Dubai Police CID ran a controlled purchase inquiry against a Telegram team channel that advertised Freshma surgical supplies, lab disposals, medical hardware with prices listed in dirhams. A half-blurred photo attached to one listing contained a countertop metal tray and a clinic requisition form. The upper right corner of the form bore Jumeirah Creek Clinic's logo, torn off above the line where patient identifiers would sit. The XIF data in the image, not stripped, flagged a LED Samsung Galaxy A series 1 camera at latitude 25.178, longitude 55 its .273. A coordinate within Al-Quaz Industrial 3. Among the items photographed lay evidence that would be labeled later as origin-linked remains. What broke the bubble for the resort was not the listing, but the door to Badat Radio. Room 1219. At Benafort 18, Inotorfio. Monday, May 22nd. When housekeeping reported a refused service notice scrawled on a notepad and 2 days of room-level inactivity. The resort security office pulled the keycard log and saw the 15:16 Sharit entry on a Friday as the last. By policy, the resort would wait 72 hours before a welfare check unless a room showed leak, odor, or guest complaint. The 72 hours collided with a different clock altogether. The speed with which a fake recruiter had moved a human being into the stream of an exportable commodity and the rate at which evidence in servers was being slowly overwritten. The first hours hinged on servers and stops before they turned to faces. The resort security team, urged by a formal CID request number DPCID-MAY-22-644, froze 14 cameras on floor 12, the service corridor east wing, and the loading docks. They exported the 1516 as keycard entry, the HOR 1625 Tsaru elevator override log, and the PUT 1632 SAR dock footage. They matched the linen cart's taped handle to the housekeeping asset tag H, K Cart 12 Krui, assigned that week to Tay Shiftbait, supervised by the foreman N. Rahman. Attendance logs placed Rahman at a training offsite, verified by biometric clock FP Reader 3 at year 1310. The override code FP03 belonged to concierge Lidam Salim, who swiped into staff cafeteria at 1621 on camera across the property. The code use in Salim's physical location contradicted. The inference was simple and flagged as such. Someone with authority had shared or leaked the code, or a device with stored credentials had been used by another person. CID in Dubai, Health Authority. DHA investigators, working under a joint order due to the health facility origin of the requisition form in the telegram photo, traced the airway bill captured on the dock. The label's numeric string, rotated and blurred in motion blur, yielded 3 readable digits and a shipper's first word. The resort's logistics clerk produced a manifest for May 19th. Outgoing. Desert Marina Services. Consigned 4 sealed containers listed as kitchen waste and linens. The containers bore RFID seals that registered exits at 1634 through Band Dock Gate West. The vendor's route logs confirmed a run to Al Quoz. The investigation assembled a list of verifiable breadcrumbs. TV from SC Srel 2 East 004 and LD West 002, showing cart movement and dock exit on May 19th. Digital keycard Bekloki RFID 48 G119 for cut room 12, 19, last entry 15-16, May 19. Service elevator override, record FP03 and 1625, user credential linked to M. Salim. Rideshare receipts to Najamira Creek Clinic at ICO 1031 and to Al Quoz Warehouse 12 at SH 1215. Clinic lab sheet, Lab Hep 19733, blood draw, serology, and clinic check-in ticket, JCCQ A114, timed May 19. DC Wi-Fi radius, logs for Tazparat, Artis Artedi DMS staff, an Azure Gaston's device, F2:9, A:77:1C:45:09, with associations at Sri Al Quoz. Telegram listing, image AXIF with coordinates in Al Quoz Industrial 3. On May 21. Smartwatch last sync, 1452, May 19. Vendor manifest and airway bill, indexes tied to Desert Marina Services. They built their spine chronologically. Entry to clinic and lab draw, ride to Al Quoz, van and warehouse Wi-Fi handshake, return to resort room, override and cart to dock, vendor pickup, listing online, coordinates matching warehouse cluster. Each step sat on a distinct system, clinic, resort, telecom, logistics, none owned by the same entity. Procedural friction appeared immediately. The United Arab Emirates. Data retention policies and private sector privacy frameworks limited access without precise case-tied requests. The resort initially pushed back, citing guest privacy and internal counsel guidance requiring a formal prosecution order for releasing staff credential audit logs beyond top-level metadata. The clinic invoked medical confidentiality statutes and demanded a CODHA-issued directive to provide lab sheet copies and internal camera pulls. The telegram data that mattered sat outside domestic jurisdiction. The DMS vendors' route trackers rotated logs on a 7-day basis. By May 24, some location pings had already fallen off. Overwrite clocks ticked everywhere. The workaround came in layers. EPUR DHA issued a public health concern notice under communicable disease statutes, leveraging the blood draw and lab handling as a point of entry, that compelled the clinic to release non-diagnostic administrative logs and internal movement timestamps. Those logs, separate from the medical record, did not require patient consent. The resort's council accepted a CID letter of preservation covering 14 cameras and 3 staff credential systems, while the FAT prosecution order was processed. The vendor logs problem was mitigated when RTA toll systems provided Salik gate crossings for the vendor's plate number. 3 crossings on May 19th at 1641, 1702, and 1749. The telegrammed Freisauer channel was infiltrated by a DHA inspector posing as a buyer, a controlled purchase. Recorded payment instructions to a digital wallet domiciled with a licensed virtual asset service provider in the Dubai International Financial Center, DIFC, which fell under a separate regulator. That introduced another jurisdiction's gates, but it also inserted a compliance department into the chain. While investigators assembled their skyline of timestamps, The antagonistic method continued to show itself in dull movements. Desert Marina Services. Vans had authorized RFID access at the Azure Crescent loading dock because they serviced kitchen grease traps twice weekly. The override code FP03 permitted priority use of a service elevator to minimize guest interference. If someone inside the dock opened a linen cart and added sealed containers labeled as waste, a vendor driver would not break seals on pickup. Inference, flagged as such. The logistics did not need sophistication beyond embedded access and familiar routes. The capability was in using credentials and waste streams that already existed. The turning point arrived with a small mistake in a photo. The Telegram news listing that used the clinic's requisition corner uploaded another image on May 22nd, at Latin 27, showing a plastic tub on a stainless table. The edge of a DHL poster appeared in the background with a customer service number partially visible. Investigators canvassed Al-Quaz units within a 200 meters radius of the EXIF coordinates. One storefront, leased to Al-Wasl Biomedical Recycling, had a DHL poster taped on a sidewall in the same position. The business license listed manager Darzi. Inside, a desk held a phone with a mono SIM tied to the fake HR number. On another desk, a printer cache contained a copy of the Azure Crescent Wellness Host offer with the same metadata. A back room hosted a bench with saline bags, scalpels, and a calendar marked with initials under May 19. In a locked refrigerator, Dubai municipality inspectors recovered labeled human origin material wrapped with clinical disposals. The labels matched a clinic brand stock used by Jumeirah Creek Clinic, so, parallel to the warehouse search, resort audit logs returned a set of anomalies. 32 minutes. Before the 1625 IND elevator override, a staff badge linked to Imam. Selamek had authenticated to the concierge workstation A, while Salim's biometrics placed him in a different building. The concierge workstation had a feature used for guest relocations to issue temporary access credentials to maintenance and vendors for defined intervals. 4 temporary credentials were created that week. The one used at 1625 had been generated at 1552 with an issuer ID that belonged to Salim's workstation session. The user at the keyboard was not Selim. Kiwa. CCTV. From the concierge desk showed a man in a navy polo using the machine with his back turned to the camera at 1552. A concierge tablet assigned to Salim had gone missing on May 18th and was listed as unaccounted. Its memdemers pinged last on May 19 at 1549 near the service core. Inference labeled someone familiar with workflows had used a misplaced device to generate an override window and then escorted a cart to the dock. DIFC compliance delivered another tie. The digital wallet receiving controlled purchase funds had a Know Your Customer profile bound to Darzi with identification documents matching the Al-Wasl Biomedical Recycling license file. A bank account inside the DIFC recorded incoming transfers from the wallet and outgoing payments to Desert Marina Services for special handling runs. The Desert Marina owner, when interviewed separately, produced invoices labeled Abadus After Hours Disposal. With the Azure Crescent logo in the corner, the logo was a copied image with incorrect proportions, a detail the resort's legal office confirmed. By Furidupar, May 24, the spine had names. The fake HR recruiter and the biomedical recycling manager were the same person. The logistics vendor had accepted special loads paid by the same account that took money on the Telegram channel. The resort's internal controls had been bypassed through a missing device and a stolen credential. The clinic's requisition form corner and labels, torn to avoid patient identifiers, matched stock ordered from a supply catalog. The open question, acknowledged as such, was whether anyone inside the resort or clinic had knowingly assisted beyond negligence. The confrontation unfolded without words, inside rooms that collect contradictions in documented form. Ekid Nela Nortidian's auditors sat with ledgers, logs, and images. At Al-Wasl Biomedical Recycling, inventory records listed clinical disposals received on Edra May 19th. at Qua 1805 in 3 crates. A weigh-scale log captured 89 kilograms total. The vendor manifest from Azure Crescent listed Shasudadi sealed containers, weight 117 kilograms co. On exit from the resort dock, the Salik crossings for the vendor van matched departure and return windows. There was no additional stop logged by the vendor beyond Al Quaz. The Telegram channel's postings for May 21 and May 22 were preserved through screen recordings, wallet receipt screenshots, and chats archived by the DIFC provider. Funds flowed from controlled purchase wallets to the Darzi wallet, then to the bank account that paid vendor invoices. At the resort, the credential audit showed that the FP03 override was not executed from the concierge desk, but from a handheld concierge tablet last seen May 18th. The MDM showed the tablet's last SSID association at Service Corps East, 1548, May 19. TV at Ohro. Service Corps East captured a man in a navy polo entering with a card at Ya 1623 and exiting at 1631. The man's face was briefly reflected in the elevator door. A later facial comparison matched a Darzi's license photo at 82% confidence, which did not meet courtroom thresholds but guided focus. The cart's asset tag placed it under housekeeping Shift B. But Shift B's roster and biometric entries showed the assigned housekeeper on a different floor at that time. The inference, flagged, was that the cart had been staged. At the Fatir Clinic Sai, a ledger of requisition forms showed a missing block of 20 Mashbaid forms, serials JCC-RF-1780 through Gadia's JCC-RF-1799 Padits, flagged missing on April 27th. The requisition corner visible in the photo matched that serial pattern. The clinic's access control bar recorded a backdoor swipe by a PI temporary maintenance card at E1201, May 11th. The card had been issued for air conditioning work and was not returned on time. Maintenance contractor logs for that day included Al Wassel biomedical recycling personnel performing a waste stream consultation inside the clinic's storeroom. The covered narrative became clear. Documents and labels used by the clinic had been photographed or taken. A recruiter persona had been built and extended with real-looking items. Forensic/technical findings closed the loop on person and place. Wi-Fi triangulation from routers within the warehouse complex fixed. Lena's device, MAC F2:9, A:77:1, C:45:09. Inside, warehouse 12. For Lena's, for 8 minutes, May 19th, 12:22 to 12:30. Sharky records from her Fordmar SIM showed a brief attached to a cell covering that warehouse at the same minute. The smartwatch last sync 1452 aligned with the window between clinic and resort, closing inside a period where her device showed no motion. Room 12, 19. Bluetooth lock so. Reported no guest device good in proximity after 1530 wait. Unusual given prior patterns. The elevator override and Tarkini dock exit placed a cart leaving her floor 52 minutes after her last room entry. Sharjah custom scanned 2 dozen crates from a Desert Marina Services bound for a PEC recycling partner. A paperwork irregularity triggered a secondary inspection. May 21, and at the Dubai municipality took custody of contents and halted release. That custody chain preserved what had been partly displayed for sale on the Telegram channel. DNA profiling by Holiru. Dubai Police Forensic Science matched the preserved material to Linus's toothbrush collected from Room 12. 19 with a 1 in several billion probability. The person behind A. Darzi faced the records in legal procedures rather than confrontation. Prosecution files, charged, trafficking in human material, forgery, fraud and illegal handling of clinical waste, and money laundering, citing the digital wallet trail into DIFC and onward to vendor invoices. Desert Marina Services. Owner faced charges for tarifur, negligent handling of controlled waste, and misrepresentation. The resort faced a DHA compliance action for credential management failures and paid administrative penalties. A consent decree required changes to device handling and time-bound reporting. The clinic received a warning and was ordered to tighten requisition sheet control. The legal endpoint was mixed and credible. A. Darzi entered a Karabibiri to be trafficking in human material and money laundering to avoid a trial that would have required sensitive evidentiary displays. He received a 20 years imprisonment and a lifetime ban not from health-related businesses with asset seizure satu of funds held in DIFC accounts. Fraud. Desert Marina Services accepted a deferred prosecution agreement, paid fines, lost Azure Crescent Hute as a client, and agreed to third-party monitoring for 2 years. No resort employees were charged. Internal discipline documented failures to report a missing device and improper code sharing. The clinical contractor who issued the temporary maintenance card received a disciplinary suspension. Not every name connected to the Telegram channel was identified, and the channel moved, as they do, to a new handle within days. That unsettled piece remained explicitly unresolved in the file. The end of the story sits in policy, process, and prevention, not spectacle. Per Azure Crescent replaced code-based overrides with single-use QR elevator tokens, tied to live staff biometrics, and banned credential sharing without exception. Concierge tablets moved to an automatic lock and YP. MICE profile when location deviated from whitelisted zones. DHA required clinics to track requisition forms as controlled stationary with serial reconciliation monthly and to watermark outbound lab sheets. DIFC news regulator tightened, but pre-virtual asset KYC refresh cycles for wallets receiving payments flagged by Dubai police controlled buys. RTA's Salik crossing data, proven useful, moved into a standard joint request template to shorten time to access. Lena's parents received an official letter dated September 5, 2023, listing case references, custody numbers, and the DNA report ID. It summarized in bureaucratic language the chain of events from May 15th to May 24th and the court's judgment in July. It contained no adjectives. The objects that witnessed: camera, SCL2, East 004, keycard, RFID 48, G119, rideshare receipts, clinic, lab Hep B 19733. Router logs, airway bill fragments, wallet statements had arranged themselves into a spine that could be read by anyone willing to learn the system names. The risk revealed by that spine did not look like a dark alley. It looked like the gap between a glossy front of house and the waste dock behind it, the movement of a cart, and an override code typed into a tablet left on a desk. Inference notes, separated and plain. Whether any resort or clinic employee knowingly participated beyond negligence was not established. The case narrative marked device loss, credential slippage, and document theft as enabling factors. Whether other victims were recruited through the same wellness host, PDF was suspected based on DIFC wallet inflows, but not proven in court. Those suspicions yielded a preventive action, a fraud alert on the resort's website warning candidates not to trust non@azurecrescent.com domains, posted June 9th, and a continuing line in a tasking memo inside Kitty. The consequence finally was an arranged set of changes. A hotel tightened a back door. A clinic counted its forms. A regulator watched a wallet. The systems that handled people, payments, and waste recognized how they touched. The evidence that brought the case to a lawful end was banal and absolute. A timestamp on a door, a crate weight on a scale, a wallet transfer ID, a router handshake. That ordinariness, placed in order, showed how a week could erase a person and how the order itself could prevent the next erasure.